Alright, what's going on, everyone? Just got back from New York, and this is the recap for a big weekend of boxing. So I had to watch. Went to one card, had some representatives at another, but I wanted to watch both cards so I can just combine the recap in one video. First fight, main event, Barclays between the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder, and King Kong, Louis Ortiz. This fight had its moments. I'm not going to call it the great fight or even the good fight that everybody seems to be calling it. I don't think it was a great fight. There was some action in certain rounds that was entertaining, but just like Klitschko and Joshua, it had about 3 good rounds. Fantastic action in those 3 good rounds, but like rounds 1 through 4 were dull. Then it took off in the 5th and 6th, and then it kind of quieted down, and then it did its thing late in the fight, and it was over. This fight was the same way. I thought that Kong controlled the fight and was on his way to a victory, and then he turned into the 48-year-old fighter that he is. I don't necessarily see fights the way most people do, so I'm not just going to say, hey, I mean, he got old, he ran out of gas, he got caught. I didn't see it that way. First of all, outside of the shots that were landed in certain rounds, there wasn't a whole lot of offense in this fight. There was some apprehension, some trepidation, whatever word you want to use. There was a lot of cautious fighting. If you recall, there were at least 3 rounds where fans at the Barclays were booing because of the lack of action. So I'm not going to get ahead and just because we're not used to seeing certain things in the heavyweight division, when we see a little bit of it, oh, that was a great fight. Nah, it wasn't. Deontay Wilder landed 98 of 346 punches. That's 28%. Kong landed 87 of 363 punches. That's 24%. Deontay was 38 for 191 on the jabs, 20%. Kong was 24 of 218 for 11%. And the power punches, Wilder landed 60 of 155 for 39%. Kong landed 63 of 145 for 43%. Here's what I saw. I'm just going to skip to the final round. Now, well, actually, no. Let me take that back. When Kong had his big round against Wilder, which could have been scored 10-8, let me ask somebody something. As he's ready to pounce on Wilder in the 8th round, why did the New York State Commission stop the fight and bring Wilder over to check him? I thought, I mean, that kind of takes some of the steam, especially out of a guy who we know is older than 39 years old. It kind of takes the steam out of a guy. You just wonder, like, and Paulie and them jumped on, yo, there's no cut. You can't do that. Like, what's going on? Well, anyway, I thought Ortiz could have been a little bit more aggressive in that 8th round to try to see if he can get Wilder out of there. He kind of came on late, but by then, Wilder recovered. And then Ortiz came back and he won the 9th. And then the 10th happened. And here's what I saw. And I don't need anyone to agree. That's fine. So they both landed shots that hurt each other. Wilder kind of was the aggressor after that because Kong's balance is, I mean, he's older and he's slower and he's heavier, so he's still kind of gathering himself. Wilder had kind of beat him to getting his feet together. So as they get close, they tie up and Wilder lands one big right hand to the back of Ortiz's head. That's an illegal punch. He lands a second rabbit punch to the back of Ortiz's head. That's an illegal punch. Then he threw Ortiz to the ropes. Ortiz bounced off the ropes and he went down. Now, I don't know if the first rabbit punch kind of got Ortiz, the second rabbit punch kind of got Ortiz, or his head hitting the rope. See, those ropes, even though they're flexible, they are heavy. Imagine Mike Tyson when he's fighting Tony Tubbs and they both go crashing to the ropes. Well, if those ropes aren't solid, don't you think a guy that's like 300 pounds and another guy that's about 220 falling against those ropes are going to fall out of the ring? So when you hit those ropes, you're not actually exactly hitting a pillow. So Ortiz goes down, but he kind of stays down as if he took a knee almost. He did that because he didn't know if the referee was going to rule it a knockdown or not, but he's down there as if it's a knockdown. The reason why he's down there with one glove on the ground, kind of looking at his corner, I guess waiting to take an 8 count before the referee kind of told him it was a slip. The reason he's like that is because he shook up. I don't know if it was, like I said, I don't know if it was the 2 rabbit punches or if the way he got thrown down. He's kind of shook up, and then the referee, not "Are you all right?" or what, he's like, "Get up, get up." Nah, man, are you okay? What if he twisted his knee? Like, you don't know at that point. And I've been critical of this referee before. I've taken pictures with him, but I mean, I call it. I thought he stopped the Joshua Klitschko fight too early. Same referee. So Ortiz gets up and Wilder charges him, and Ortiz, he doesn't have his. He knows what's coming, but he doesn't totally have his faculties, because I'm telling you, he's a little shook up. And then Wilder, with his youth and athleticism, kind of pounced on him. Now, every time Wilder tried to pounce, except once in the fight, Ortiz kind of either countered him or was in position to do whatever. This particular time he wasn't. He got caught and fight over. I just don't like the way that 10th round went down after he threw him down. I mean, I just don't like it. But anyway. So, Wilder. I thought Wilder was getting schooled. I thought Ortiz was coming on, even at his advanced age. It's just that it was unfortunate for him that it happened the way it did. To his credit, he's like, hey, whatever. Wilder, finally, he hit the $2 million mark. Wilder got $2.1 million for the fight, and Ortiz got $500,000. I mean, I thought the Cuban should at least have received $1 million. I mean, goodness. But it was a good fight. I sure like to see a rematch rather than see Wilder go ahead and fight Prince Charles Martin or and Joshua, if he wins, fighting Baby Miller, or Wilder fighting Dominic Breazeale, or however it's going to go down. But what I liked from Wilder was early on he stopped doing it. It was very subtle. Only a keen eye who looks for things. I'm sure, I don't know if Paulie mentioned it or anybody else, but Wilder was throwing this jab to the body, and it wasn't as if it was taking the gas out of Ortiz. It wasn't taking the wind out of him or anything like that. But it just, I liked it. It just caused Kong to kind of hesitate a bit or move or reset or something like that. I don't even know if Wilder knew he was doing it, man. But he abandoned it. I think Ortiz could have did a little bit more work to the body. It was effective. It was hard because Wilder has that reach advantage, and as well as the height. However, Wilder, when he was consistent and he really pumped that jab out there, that was good. I saw a difference in Wilder's jab beginning with his last fight. The way he threw his jab against Bermans Vern there just was a difference. And I'm like, all right, that's how he always needs to throw his jab. And he did that at times with Ortiz, but not a whole lot. He was scared of what was going to come back in that fight with Ortiz, who is a southpaw, which is not a skilled southpaw. So not easy to fight. But so Wilder moves to 40-0. I mean, listen, anything that I say about Ortiz really being like 48 or such and such not happening, hey, that's not Deontay Wilder's fault. He showed up, he did his job, and he won the fight. It would have been very interesting if this went 12 to see how it would have been scored, because the scorecards were off the mark. All three judges had Wilder ahead after 9. Now, I believe they all, I have the scorecards, they should be on the screen. I believe they all gave Ortiz the 7th and 8th, if I'm not mistaken. They gave Wilder the 9th, which it was a close round. It would have been interesting. My card had Ortiz by a few points, so I'm not sure, because you don't score it now at the stoppage, that is, so you don't score the 10th. And I had Wilder ahead, I think by 3. Ortiz ahead by, I believe, 3 points, 3 or 4. I can't recall. I believe it was 3. That's not giving Ortiz a 10-8 round where you could have. But, and I think the judges had it 10-9 for Ortiz. And of course, Wilder had a 10-8 round early on. But, so we're going to see how this plays out. I still say you're not going to see the AJ fight. I've been saying this for going back maybe 15 videos, that you'll see that fight in 2019 if it's going to happen. It's all about timing. And speaking of timing, they guessed right with Ortiz. I mean, they sat him. They made sure about the inactivity with the age. they guessed. Really, they guessed wrong because Ortiz came to party and should have won, but he didn't. Just as Golden Boy guessed wrong with Golovkin the first fight, they figure, all right, he slipped, we got him. And Golovkin really won that fight. And Ortiz was really winning this fight. Unfortunately, when the ref, he should have stayed down and pointed to the back of his head or something. But he's a warrior. He got up. He said, "Let's do it." Deontay's a warrior. He got up and said, "Let's do it," and he got it done. So it was a good fight, a good test. Deontay passed the test, and now, see, people always use the word dangerous with Deontay Wilder, and I never looked at him. I guess I kind of looked at him as dangerous. He's not very skilled, but he has a showstopper. He's like he just has a showstopper, but I never used that word until now, and him being dangerous has nothing to do with the fact that he beat Louis Ortiz, and it has nothing to do with his showstopper. Deontay Wilder is dangerous because of confidence. You know, I used to be an assistant coach with a basketball team, and they had a kid named Terry. I won't say his last name. And Terry was a lefty. He had perfect form. He had athleticism, everything. So he always liked to shoot the three, right? Nice stroke, perfect form, and his shot just wouldn't go in. And so every time he played pickup ball, he would shoot the ball and everybody say that's coming off, or however you off shot, or whatever you would say. And I'm like, man, it looked good, and the shot never was off to the left or off to the right. It just was long or short, but just always like, man, it's like right there. And it would hit the cylinder and pop straight up or come back out for a long rebound, or it would just be a little short. And I could never put my finger on it. So a couple years go by, then Terry became an assassin. I mean, the guy could shoot. And you never heard when he shot, people would say money. They wouldn't say off shot or coming off or rebound or whatever. Now, the people who left the school, when they would come back to a game and see Terry play, they're like, man, like what happened? And I asked the coach one day, he said he could always shoot, man. It was just confidence. If Deontay Wilder fought Louis Ortiz a year ago, he would have gotten knocked out. If he fought Anthony Joshua a year ago, or 3 months ago, he would have gotten knocked out. I still, at this point, it's almost even money, but I would still favor Anthony Joshua. But here's the thing. Joshua he fought in a good fight against Klitschko. It wasn't great. Like I said, you take the first 4 rounds out and another round, and you got 3 rounds that were cool. You know what I mean? So once he beat Klitschko, it was like he passed the ultimate test. Now, Klitschko was an old man himself, if you follow me. Couldn't move as fast as he could. Never really had hand speed. So timing. Here we go again. But everybody looks at Klitschko as being the best guy on either Wilder or Joshua's resume. So when Joshua fought Carlos Takam, there was some booing. And he didn't, when that fight was over, everybody was like, eh. It wasn't that Joshua regressed, but he didn't go to that next level after beating his major test. So we don't know if when he fights, let's just say he beats Joseph Parker. We don't know if he's on that same level, or if he's going to take it up a level, or if he's going to slide back. You understand? Deontay Wilder, on the other hand, that level is going up. I'm not talking about he's fighting differently and learned how to do other things. I'm talking about confidence. So he's that guy Terry now, or that shooting guard who averaged in the NCAA, he averaged 11 points all season, and then he plays those 6 NCAA tournament games and averages like 22. He goes on that 6-game tear. That's Deontay Wilder right now on a confidence level. He's hot, and this is his NCAA tournament, and he's on that tear right now because his confidence is like at an all-time high. And that's what happens with a lot of guys in the NCAA tournament. You're like, man, he just started to shine. Just a lot of that happens with guys at the NFL Combine, and they have these great workouts, and then you're like, you see teams grab a guy, and then he winds up being a bust because the team fell in love with that workout. Well, Deontay Wilder's on that NCAA streak. He's on that NFL Combine workout. He's dangerous because of the confidence. Like, no matter what happens to me, he might not know he's not the most skilled, but he knows that he can overcome adversity at the highest level. And so that's what makes him dangerous right now, his confidence. Not to say he wasn't confident before, but there's a difference now. AJ, we'll see. We'll see how he handles Parker. But if they fight now, I mean, there's going to be a lot of money put on Wilder versus AJ, where those same people 3 months ago wouldn't have put a dime, wouldn't have touched Wilder with a 10-foot pole. So we'll see. We'll see. So some weird stuff happened on this card way before Showtime announced it. I got a source, and he's texting me telling me that Uzcategui, or Uzcategui, take your pick, that something was up with his blood, and I'm thinking he failed a drug test, and he didn't mention the urine part, and I'm like, then he sent a weird text, and he's mentioning blood and urine. I'm still trying to figure out what the heck he's talking about, but well before the Jim Gray part and what have you, I had this. So I shot at the one dude, but then I get this thing about Louis Ortiz. He was going to back out of this fight. This is a good source. It was shaky. He kind of got forced to fight this fight. Now remember WBC wanting to worry about his health? How come he didn't worry about his health now? Because see, there's money on the line. My source tells me that Prince Charles Martin was flown in, and he was going to be Deontay Wilder's opponent if Louis Ortiz backed out of the fight. Now, initially, Ortiz, according to the source, said he couldn't do it. His blood pressure was too high. But that shouldn't have been Ortiz's call. That the commission, if they couldn't get that blood pressure down, so then they come up with this story, it was just nerves, as if the blood pressure went down. I'm like, okay. But for them to fly Charles Martin in, and for Martin to be ready to glove up and fight, the blood pressure being high would have had to happen the day before or earlier. Because you're not just going to fly a guy in like an hour or two before the fight. I mean, come on. So, I don't know. That might be an interesting backstory. Once again, that's not Deontay Wilder's fault. He came out to do a job, and he got it done. And you got to give him his credit for that. Andre Dirrell. I don't know how much Andre Dirrell's heart has been in it for I don't know how many years now. It just wasn't. It's not something that just happened over the past year or two. And at the end of the round before they stopped it, when Uzcategui kind of landed some shots toward the end of the bell. Sound familiar? Or toward the end of the round, when he hit Dirrell a few times, like a 4-piece or something like that, and it looked like it was only a matter of time. And then as Dirrell went back to the rope, he kind of gave my man a hard glove tap, like, good stuff. And I'm like, nah, dude. That was him throwing the white flag in, pretty much. And you can role play and say, nah, I want to keep going and all that. You could tell his heart wasn't in it. And maybe he'll get another shot. This is a case. It's kind of like Lamont Peterson and Cheaterson. It's kind of like the Peterson brothers. To me, Anthony Peterson has more talent than Lamont. Anthony can't. There's just always something going on with him, and he can't get over that hump. Whereas Lamont won a title or two. Well, Andre Dirrell is more talented in most people's opinion than his brother Anthony. But his brother has won the titles. And Dirrell is going to, more than likely, unless something happens, he's going to go down in history as a guy who he couldn't get it done and never had a world title, which is, he has the tools, but just didn't work out for him. So he's going to do some soul searching, and I hope it's his decision if he retires. I hope if he's thinking maybe I should just my heart isn't in it, and other people, come on man, you got too much talent, you gotta. Hopefully it's not one of those deals. So we'll see. Losing my voice. So let's go to the HBO card. I'm gonna grab some paperwork here, some notes I took. Probably write up a story, so I'm not going to cover everything. Vaughn Alexander Vaughn Alexander won his fight. He was in tough. Vaughn was in tough, and Vaughn Alexander actually is Devin Alexander's brother, and he went away and did some time. Can't remember how many years, but I believe it was double-digit years. And so when he came out, he wanted to continue his career. So he's up to 12-0 right now. I think he did, man. What did he do? Like 12 years, 14, something like that. Anyway, 12-0 with 8 knockouts. He fought a guy named Devon Lee, who's 10-3-1 with 5 knockouts, and he took the fight on like a day and a half, 2 days notice. And Devon Lee came to fight. He doesn't have a lot of power. He's just a limited guy, but just worked hard, and it was a good shot. It was a good shot. I mean, the crowd was into it, and I think it was a good learning experience for Lee. Alexander's more talented, but so he did. He got the rounds in, which is good for him. The fight went the distance, so 10 rounds, and Alexander won a decision. It was I can't find my paper. I thought the scores were a little wide, but the right guy won. However, just as with the Wilder Ortiz fight, with this fight with Canelo Golovkin, if a guy wins by knockout like Wilder did, if it goes to the cards like Canelo did, or it goes to the cards like this, you have to keep an eye on the judging, because Deontay Wilder's one day is going to go the distance again and not bail out a bad judge's card, or vice versa. Wilder could be winning a fight and could be down for some reason on judges' scorecards, and there's no knockout. Now, you put your focus on the judges. Well, we live in a reactive society, not proactive. Judges need to be taken a look at, just like at this Wilder fight. There's no way he's up on all 3 cards. There's no way he's up, period. But so you have to take a look to prevent it from happening. Because if that fight went the distance and just kept playing the way it did, we would have had an issue. But this is boxing, right? So, also Frank Galarza, he improved to 19-2-2 with 11 knockouts, as he beat Norberto Gonzalez, who drops to 24-11 with 14 knockouts. Entertaining fight, and Norberto was limited. Frank pretty much had his way. 78-74, 80-72, 79-73. They just mixed the shots in. I mean, Frank wanted to take the lead. Gonzalez wanted to counter, and it was an interesting fight. Kept the crowd entertaining. Those styles did well together. In the televised portion, man, did you see the shot that Dimitri Bivol landed? Once again, and this is the second. I think it's the second fight in a row. He kind of waited to the last minute, and he scored a TKO victory at, what was it, 1 minute 41 seconds of the 12th round. Where are my notes at? And while I'm looking for my notes, I know one thing that I said throughout the fight was Dmitry Bivol's jab. Oh my gosh, that's going to be something that guys are going to have to reckon with. I thought Sully B had a nice. In the 6th round, he landed a nice right hand, but as was the case throughout the fight, there was no follow-up by Sully B. And Bivol won this fight with his jab and with his footwork. So anytime Sully B tried to follow up, Bivol would kind of pivot out of the way and then just start outworking Sully B. There were a couple headbutts, and each time the headbutt occurred, Sully B got or at least was animated enough to make you believe that he got the worst of it. It didn't draw any blood on Sully. I think the first one kind of shook him up a little more than the second one. My prediction was that if Sully B didn't follow the pattern of going down early, that Bivol would wear him down. But I didn't think it would. Sully B, his chin is just, it's on that level. The shots he got hit with, and even when he got knocked down hard, I'm thinking, all right, well, it's done. And he got up and wanted to continue. Too brave for his own good. At, what is he, 36 years old? That was his shot. He came up short. And history won't remember guys like Sullivan Barrera. They just won't. But I'm proud of the effort that he gave in this. I like both guys. I'm proud of the effort that he gave. And it's just an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but he comes to fight. And he's a champion without being a champion. And he was just in there with a monster. And I'm having all kind of trouble finding my notes. But in the main event, Sergey Kovalev defeated the outmatched Igor Mikulkin as he delivered a TKO at 225 of the 7th. I called for a 5th round stoppage and possibly earlier. Mikulkin lasted. He has an awkward style and he's a lefty, and a lot of times I saw Kovalev reach in that fight. It's difficult fighting lefties. I'm gonna give Kovalev and Wilder some credit, man, because they both made mistakes that you ordinarily do against lefties, which is that reach. You kind of lean in almost. It was like when Bryant Jennings got caught by Ortiz with that uppercut. You don't fight him straight up. So Kovalev found himself reaching a lot, and foolishly at times, as my man Mikulkin kind of slipped out of the way. But talent, in the end, talent, and I wasn't thrilled with either fight on the televised portion of HBO. Now, what the world wants to see is these two guys fight each other. I didn't like the way Bivol answered the question when it was like, do you want to fight him next or what have you? And then, so we'll see. We'll see. Kovalev, I can't put my finger on it, but he's starting to look his age, however 30-ish that is. I'm not sure exactly what his age is. 32 maybe, 33, 34, 36, I'm not sure. Also, he I don't know if Kovalev, he has the experience. I don't know if he beats Bivol at this point. I mean, we'll see which way they go. They kind of threw a little smorgasbord of names at Kovalev, including Andre Ward, Adonis Stevenson. He was eager to fight Badu Jack, I think the name was, that came out of Kovalev's mouth. So we'll see. We'll see. Bivol, I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure. I think just based on what I saw yesterday, Bivol might get Kovalev if they fight. Could be wrong. Involves maybe watching another fight, or if they go right at it next and looking at some prior fights. But we'll see. We'll see. Overall, though, that was a big weekend of boxing, and the beat goes on. I think that coming up, we got ESPN 2 on Friday, March 9th. We got Ronnie Rios stepping in with Azat. You can pronounce his last name better than me. And and then also March 9th on Showtime, we got Regis Prograis versus Julius Ndongo. I think that's back on. There was an injury. March 10th, Mikey Garcia, Sergey Lipinets, excuse me. That's March 10th from San Antonio. That's on Showtime. They had there was an injury early on, so now that's back on. Saturday, March 11th, Jose Ramirez, Amir Imam. I might actually, you know what? I might look to go to that. That's on ESPN, Saturday, March 17th. And Thursday, March 22nd, Fernando Vargas, not that Fernando Vargas, versus Ryan Garcia, ESPN 2. Make sure you watch that fight. Ryan Garcia has arguably the fastest hands in boxing. Oh my God, the kid is amazing. He's 13-0, 12 knockouts. Thursday, March 22nd, ESPN 2. Saturday, March 24th, Dillian White, Lucas Brown. The winner of that, there's another piece of one of those titles out there. I don't even want to get into it. And then Saturday, March 31st, Anthony A.J. Joshua, Joseph Parker. Unification. So that should be great. Then we move on to April, which will have Lara versus Hurd, Billy Joe Saunders, Martin Murray, Frampton Donaire, the return of Amir Khan, Adrian Broner and Omar Figueroa is still on, from what I'm hearing. Danny Jacobs and Selecki, and I think that's the one where Baby Miller and I forgot who who Miller was fighting, but Miller wins that, he has a crack. So crack at the at AJ if AJ wins. So, and remember that's HBO at the Barclays Center, so that'll be different. All right, I'm about to go to bed. I'm tired. Catch you on the next one.